at each month, I'm building on to the concept of how to regulate yourself and make a choice when you're triggered. In January, the main theme was awareness. And we learned how to notice what's happening without judging it, without fixing it, without turning it into another reason to shame ourselves, right? So we're just like, let's just be aware of how we deal with stress. And that's where the quizzes came in, right? The quizzes were helping us identify, okay, this is how we handle stress. And then as things come up, all we're doing is just being aware of it. We're like, oh, when I'm frustrated, I shut down and I don't want to talk. And that's what I do. And if someone tries to force me to talk, no good things happen. So I need to make sure I get the space I need to regulate myself, to let my body know that I'm safe. And then I can make a choice. And that was what we talked about. So in March, we talked about the patterns. And then in April, we talked about how to regulate our bodies. And then in May, this month, we talked about choice, which is once you notice the trigger, you name the pattern, you create the pause, you regulate your body. And then the question is, what choices are available now? And just this last week, we talked about even the difference between a pressured choice and a clean choice. Like when you feel pressure to make a decision, even though it's not really what you want. Have you ever made a decision like that where you feel pressured to make a decision? Or even like when I was younger, I remember that peer pressure, like you've got to cheat on this test, everybody else is doing it. And I knew that deep down, even as a kid, I knew that I was not a cheater. I didn't cheat on tests. That was me. That was my North Star, was integrity. I know what's right and I know how to follow the rules, and I don't want to do this. So when I was pressured to do it, it created all this anxiety inside me. It was like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to get in trouble. This isn't who I am. And this happens even further on. Okay, for some reason, this is popping in my head. Does anybody remember Back to the Future movies? So in the second, Marty McFly was always feeling pressured by when anybody called him yellow or a coward or chicken. Anytime anybody would say, oh, what are you, chicken? He would make a choice that was against what he wanted to do, like almost crashing a car or getting into trouble with his boss because he was helping flee from the Red Hot Chili Peppers cheat at work. But it was one of those things where it's like you see it show up in so many different everywhere, even like in movies and TV, in songs, feeling that pressure to make a choice, even though you don't want to make it. So what we really talked about was creating the pause to really reveal and widen you have choices. Because a lot of the time we'll think, oh, we have to do it just this one way. But in reality, we have many different choices available to us, many different options. So that is why this month we're going to be talking about the decision filter. And all of these concepts are things that we've done throughout our lives just automatically. We get triggered, we react. Either we get in a fight with somebody because our reaction, or we get fired, or we overeat, or anything. Like a lot of the time, our reactions are the issue. So learning how to slow it down, create the pause. And then here, I'm going to actually start showing you guys. Okay, so we're talking about the decision filter. So here's a little recap what this looks like in real life. So for example, a text comes in and it's bad news and your stomach drops and you reread it. Say it's somebody breaking up with you, saying, I don't want to be with you anymore. This is over. Your stomach drops. You reread it. You're like, did I read this wrong? And then you start trying to type back. You're like, what should I say? Because your reaction is to over explain, to resolve it right now, or don't respond at all. So you feel the urgency to respond, to resolve it, to make the uncertain certain. And what it is really, it's your body reacting to the uncertainty, reacting to the trigger. And then the pattern starts up. And your autopilot, your pattern or stress response fires up and So you get the text, you get triggered, and then your body instantly goes into fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And you're like, I need to react right now. Like, I need to do something about this. So, right after your body reacts, because a lot of the time it's hard to stop that. A lot of the time we can't fight triggers, triggers just happen. So, where I learned to be able to make that pause was between body activation, when you feel it in your body, and your default response. Right then is where we need to create that bridge, that space. So that is where the awareness starts to loop, is that once you start feeling the activation in your body, that's when you need to create the space to make a clean choice. So your default response usually created probably a negative outcome. And then you felt the shame. And then you ended up just repeating it over and over again. Every time you got triggered, your body would activate, you default into autopilot. And then the outcome from your reaction, it's just over and over again. For me, it was just this loop. That's why I created it as a loop. Because for me, it was just this automatic. So that's why we have learning to create the becoming bridge, which is kind of creating basically a bridge over that default reaction. So first you get triggered, you feel like a tightness in your chest, you feel like the lump in your throat. I mean, there's so many different ways. You could feel it in your head. You could feel your face getting hot. Sometimes I would feel my chest would get itchy. But I started noticing where I was feeling it in my body. And then that was when I was like, okay, if I need to take space to figure out what's happening and to calm myself down. And that's when you need to get that. Let me turn off my thing. I'm going to turn on my personal focus mode. There we go. So we create the pause. Now, I just chose 4 different ones that I like to do. Number 1 is always my favorite, which is making fists with your toes, which is a reference to Die Hard, where John McClane was flying in the plane. The gentleman next to him sensed that he was anxious and said, whenever you get to where you're going, take off your shoes and then go to a rug and make fists with your toes. But it's that sensation of feeling the ground underneath your feet, which really helps you. Just feeling that signals your nervous system that you're safe, you're fine. There's the floor. And you can even just feel that sensation of moving your toes, and instantly the panic part of your brain shuts down and everything moves toward, okay, we're moving our toes, everybody. Everybody focus on this task right now. And that creates just this almost an instant calm in your body, because you can feel that you start, I called it the veil, because whenever I would get triggered, it was almost like this, I would get a big fog in my head and I couldn't think, I couldn't form words. I couldn't make proper decisions that I would be proud of. I always made decisions that I regretted. I would be spontaneous. I would just say things that I didn't mean. I would do things that I didn't mean. Sometimes I would throw things. But the one thing I didn't do was I didn't physically calm my body down. Another thing I love to do, which I want to make a shirt for, is flamingo it, which is standing on one foot. If you're in a place where you can just stand on one foot, which kind of is funny when you're in an argument with somebody, but the balance forces your brain to focus on your body instead of the spiraling thoughts. So instantly, I've done it before where I am absolutely flustered. I will just force myself to stand on one foot no matter how ridiculous I felt. And I could instantly feel my entire body calm. It's the coolest thing ever. The whole be a flower is something my therapist told me about when I was having a bad moment in my closet. And she told me, how about you go outside and sit outside in the sun on the porch? You don't have to do anything else. Just sit out in the sun and just having because our default when we're stressed is to close ourselves up, get as small as possible into a ball. It's just this tense feeling. And so going out into the sun and just having your palms up into the sun like this, it just instantly creates this calm. It's like you feel steady, you feel just that peace for a moment. And then you can have the fog of the, because when I got triggered, I would feel like this fog. And so creating the reset in my body through movement, it almost like lifted it up so I can really think clearly, so I can really see the choices in front of me. So that's why it's really, really important. And I have for go for a damn walk for, for one of them, because walking helps. How many times have you guys been a little angry and was like, I'm going to go for a walk? So we created the pause. We notice what's going on. And then now we're at choosing our direction. So when you think of the type of person that you want to become, what type of decisions would that person make? And that is one of the big, so that's where the choice filter comes in, the decision filter. So I started with my kids. We had a decision filter. This is my boys when they were little. They were spirited, I think is the word my mom used. They were a little crazy, but so I gave them, and they were making bad decisions a lot. They were doing things that you're like, what were you thinking? I didn't, why did you pull out all your books? Why did you do that? So finally, I just said, okay, look, before you do anything, just ask yourself one question. Would this make mommy mad? If the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is I don't know, yeah, don't do it. If the answer is I don't think so, don't do it. Come find me and ask. But it wasn't about creating fear. It was just having them pause and go, "Oh, can I get in trouble for this? What's the outcome? What are the consequences?" They were little. They're not using those big words, obviously, but they're like, "Oh, am I going to get in trouble for this? I don't want to be in trouble." And it really helped them just start early on creating the, okay, what choices do I have? I want all my books out, but man, that mess will make mom mad. It's like, maybe I'll just pull out one book and read it and see which one. And I noticed, and I would even hear in the other room, oh, don't do that, Hunter. That'll make mommy mad. Don't do that. But it helped. Early on discernment is figuring out, where should they put their energy? Should they put their energy in making a huge mess that they're going to get in trouble with, and then they're going to have to clean up anyway? No, no. They'd rather put their energy somewhere else. So going and running outside, going for a swim. So it really helped. And of course, as adults, we don't think, what would this make mommy mad? But what we decide is there's just 4 questions, and these are questions that I would actually write for myself in my bathroom mirror, because my bathroom was a space that I could escape to in hard moments, and I could be left alone once I closed the door. So I had all these questions because I knew that once I had space, I had to do something useful with that space. And that space, I needed to think about why I got triggered. I had to think about why I was upset. I had to think about everything. And a lot of the time I was so upset, I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't even, all I could do is just hear the spiral thoughts of, you're triggered again, Candace. I cannot believe it. This is happening again. Why are you upset this time, Candace? I used to just ask myself mean questions that would just make me more upset. So once going to therapy and everything, and talking to the marriage therapist, finding out what I actually needed when I was triggered, because both therapists, the marriage and my regular therapist, were very familiar with CPTSD. So they knew that once I was triggered, I needed space to calm down. And so they said, you need to take your space. You have to create that space. And so a lot of time I created this space in duress, but one of the questions was, where do you feel it in your body? Which was my way of saying, am I steady enough? Am I feeling the trigger in my body? And the biggest thing I would feel was the tight chest. So that's why I always touch my chest when I say, do I feel it in my body? Because I felt it in my chest and my stomach a lot. And just pinpointing where I'm feeling it in my stomach starts to slow everything down. because then I become very in tune with just me, not what's going on outside, not what's going on outside that door, but with what I need in that moment. And so if I'm not steady enough to make a decision, then I go back to my body first. I choose those different steps to calm myself down. One of the things I would do is put my hand on my chest and one on my stomach, and I would do the 4 deep breaths through my belly to make sure it wasn't chest breathing, because that is something I would do when I was stressed and that would lead me to have panic attacks. So that was one of the biggest things. I would make sure that I wasn't breathing in my chest because that would get me to start hyperventilating. So just doing that would help so much. What pattern is showing up? What is affecting me right now? Is it something from the past, something from right now, from the future? Is there uncertainty for the future? There's so many different reasons, but really the pattern that for me that kept showing up is I'm a lone wolf. So I always tried to do things myself and I would overextend myself. I would overwhelm myself to the point where I would feel resentful because I was tired. I was worn out. I was worn thin. It was like, I have to do everything around here. But it was just a matter of me wanting to control everything because I didn't think anybody else would be capable. I mean, I didn't have that like malice intention, but it was like I liked being in control of the housework. I liked having it done in a certain time, but then I wouldn't let anybody else do the housework. Things like that, where with the pattern, what pattern is showing up in that moment, a lot of the time it was the fact that I felt like I was being disrespected. But I thought it was something triggered from the past. But what it is that I felt the disrespect, but then I was confused because I also really wanted connection. I wanted love. I wanted attention. I wanted to be admired, desired. And so I would be hesitant to say anything that would create the distance from the person I was having the relation with, the hard moment with. When I would really try to figure out what it was that was bothering me in that moment, the next thing was, okay, what are my choices? What choices are available to me right now? Because honestly, a lot of the time when I'm triggered standing in that bathroom, I just want to leave. I just want to walk right out the bathroom door and walk right out my house door into my car and leave because I want as much space from the stressful situation as possible, which isn't always healthy because a lot of the time it's just me avoiding. So I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be able to resolve it, the fight, the conversation, whatever was happening in that moment. And so the choices are, do I just leave? No. Do I go out and talk about this? Yes. Am I calm enough to do that? No. Okay, go back to one. Okay, go back to one. Am I steady enough? Because a lot of the time when I would sit there and try to think of what patterns showing up, I'd get triggered all over again. Because I would remember what happened. I'm like, oh God, yeah, that did upset me. And then I would get upset all over again. And I would have to go back and calm my body down again. Sometimes I'll get stuck in the decision filter loop for a little while because you cannot make an aligned, clean choice when your nervous system is on high alert because you're going to make a choice from urgency, from fear, from guilt. Like, I don't know how many times I've said in my old life when I was PTO president that ran the entire PTO by myself, I did, again, the lone wolf thing. I would say yes to everything. Candace, can you do this? Absolutely. Candace, do you do that? Yep. Because I wanted to be useful. I wanted to be liked. I wanted people to want me. I wanted to be chosen. So I would overextend myself. So, so one of the choices is, do I have to say yes to this or can I say no? And the last thing is, what's the smallest aligned action? So sometimes I would just come out of the bathroom and say, I need 10 minutes. I'm not able to calm down. Like I can't, I'm feeling pressure. I feel pressure in there. I can't regulate. And so coming out and just asking for 10 more minutes, that's one small thing you could do. Even like, okay, let me finish my water. That's another thing. Just think of one small thing, just one small thing. Because when you think of the overall, like, okay, now I need to go fix this argument, this problem that I'm having, I would get overwhelmed. So stopping and thinking of what's the very next smallest thing that I could be proud of. And even just going back out and saying, I need more time. I can't have this conversation right now. Or even saying, I don't want to have this conversation today. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to talk about things. I mean, generally, you got to come back eventually. If it's a reoccurring problem that keeps coming up in your relationship that's causing issues, yeah, you do have to talk about it. But you're not forced to talk about something that you're just not able to talk about in that moment. And that was something I didn't know. I thought that that was something you needed to learn. And yeah, a lot of people can talk about things in the moment, but a lot of us were like, I just can't, I need to go for a walk. You're just like, I need to think about this. Like I always needed to process things. I needed that time to work through everything because I did want to have choices. I did want to see things from all the different sides. Because when you just see from one side, it's hard to make a decision because you're just seeing from your side. Your choice is narrow when you're stressed out. So, yeah. So this was the decision filter. And for me, and I came up with different types of questions. Like I didn't say, am I steady enough? I was like, where do I feel it in my body? And instead of saying, what pattern is showing up, I'd say, ghost is haunting me right now. And that was my favorite. Or like my mom would say, what record is playing right now? Because she would talk about the old voices and the old automatic reactions and stuff. She would call it the old records playing. But yeah, so, and it's funny is that I always needed this space. And actually, my mom could probably tell you, like when I was little, I would have bad reactions. Someone would say something, I'd get upset and I'd storm off to my room. But then I would come back out and say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. Like, and I just would do that naturally. I would go take my space and I would come back. But that was something that I always did. Every person that I've ever had friendships with, relationships with, everything, been roommates with, they all knew that if I got a little pissed, I would go take a minute and then I'd come back and be like, all right, let's talk about this. And it was just something I naturally did all the time until recently when I wasn't given that space. And I didn't know how I react when that space wasn't given. I didn't understand how important that space was to me because I was always given it. I was always given my space. And when it's been taken from you or been restricted, my body would go, I mean, everything would go into pure panic mode. Like I would feel like I was in absolute danger and I had to get out of the situation immediately. And it was so scary to have such a strong reaction to not being able to walk away to the point where I spent hundreds of dollars on therapy. It's great that I found out that what I was diagnosed with and why I did have reactions, but and why they were so strong, why they didn't match the situation a lot of the time. But oh my gosh, I see that puppy. Did we stop? Okay, so what we're going into in June, talking about boundaries, like the first week, we're actually going to talk about internal boundaries. What do you say okay to for yourself? But yeah, but talking about boundaries. So we start from within first, just like we do with everything else. Boundaries, I always thought were rules for other people. This is what you can and can't do with me. These are my boundaries. But really, the focus of what we're doing this week coming up is focusing on what's mine to hold. And it's the difference between caring and carrying. So between caring for somebody and carrying things for them. Sometimes we take responsibility for things that aren't even ours to hold. And so we are going to practice next week asking ourselves, what have I been carrying because I care? But it's something I can put down. And that's where a lot of the over functioning, the people pleasing, where we walk up to someone that's having issues and we just pick up their problem and hold it and go, I'll help you with this problem. Has anybody ever done that? Just started picking up other people's, and it's a human thing. We want to be helpful, but we also don't want to. I had the tendency of picking up other people's issues and helping them solve it because I did not want to solve my own problems. So I felt really useful solving other people's problems. But it would start to affect me because what I realized is that it would affect my integrity because I wasn't following what I was telling people. I was just saying, here, go do this. Oh, no, I don't do that. But it's like, so I'm wondering, have you guys had much practice with trying to create more choices in stressful moments this past month? Instead of it narrowing, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say you get in a fight with an ex. Say I got in a fight with the kid's dad about money or something, and he says something that ticks me off, and I want to instantly react or block him or say, fine, I'm not going to need your help at all. I want to have this reaction. And mine was very sharp and very extreme. Like, fine, the kids won't have a dad anymore. It's like, wait, whoa, you don't need to go that far. So say I have that happen, but instead of saying, okay, I have to block him, it's like, well, no, let's take a moment. And for me, the biggest thing was, especially because social media days, texting, everything, is I will simply just put my phone down and walk away from it. Like I will put it down in my room and walk away from my phone. I will walk away from my phone and go, okay, I need to separate myself from this stress. And that's kind of, we're going to talk about that a little bit. So this is kind of how we can disengage from the things that are stressing us out, gently looking at our patterns, trying to do it in a very kind way to ourselves, because the whole concept is being able to make decisions that align with who we want to be in stressful moments and being proud of our decisions and knowing that we decided based on what we needed, not what other people needed. And for me, that was the hardest part because I felt so selfish, putting myself first. I want to know what have you guys had any experiences with being able to create more choices in moments where you originally thought you didn't have a lot of choices?
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, this weekend with the rodeo was interesting. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I did not go Wednesday. I did not go Thursday because he was not, my husband was not competing. Friday night I went. We were there until 1:30 in the morning. Okay, I'm too old to be staying up until 1:30 in the morning, but somebody needed to be the designated driver, so that was me. I made the choice to do that. So I had a bunch of drunk cowboys in my car and I took them all to their prospective hotels and dropped them off. And then I took my bruised ego husband home with me because he failed miserably because he has not competed in 6 years. And I told him a year ago, if you're going to do this, you got to get in shape. You got to get yourself ready because they're going to open the chute gate and you're going to fall on your face. That's exactly what happened. So Saturday night, he went up again. I got to give this guy credit because he's got balls.
Got a can-do attitude.
Can-do attitude. So he was up again Saturday, but we left relatively early and went home. And it was good. I got to see a lot of people who I haven't seen in a long time. And I got to hang out with some of the wives that are nice wives, not the crazy pass around the group kind of wives.
Not the crazy drunken wives.
Right. We call them what? Buckle bunnies?
Buckle bunnies.
So today, he didn't want to go. because he didn't place on either Friday or Saturday. And I think he was embarrassed about what happened and he was disappointed in himself. And I could tell he was beating himself up pretty badly. So I left it completely up to him. And I was inside, I was going, yay, we're not going. So I got to hang out at home today and I got a lot of stuff done. I got the house clean, I got the waters done, I got blah, 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 blah. So I was
Good.
pretty stoked. But just before I left, I'm at the shop right now. Just before I left to come to the shop, he did not want to come to the shop today. He's licking his wounds and he said, we'll get started up again tomorrow. So I thought it would be best for me to come over here and do this and leave him alone for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that space,
Yep.
because a
Yeah.
lot of the time, again, because he's probably trying to process a lot of it, because
Yeah.
it's hard for even my dad's in pretty good shape. He's not getting younger, and he could really start to feel it, and it's hard for a lot of these guys that are used to, because your guy is a rancher
Yeah.
rodeoer, so it's like,
Yeah. And I think it was a serious wake up call for him
yeah,
because I've been doing this journey for 2 years now
yeah,
and I've dropped, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds, but it's slow. And
yeah,
I know, and it's stayed off. And that's what I want.
yeah,
But his has gone up. He's 6'4", and I keep the scale here at the shop because I don't want it at home. I
yeah.
have this unhealthy relationship with the scale. So
Mm.
he got on it the other day and he would not let me see what it said. So I'm assuming it's over 400. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and I care too. Like you said, I want to just pick it up and take care of it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not, I can suggest, I can say, hey, I'm going for a walk. You want to go?
yeah,
Or if you're hungry, do you want an orange? Or I can make suggestions, but it's really
yeah.
difficult.
It's the lead the horse to water. That's the hardest part about this job, is you got to have people come to you when they're ready. You can't go up to people in the gym and be like, "You want to lose weight?" It'd be like the worst thing to say to somebody. But I have to wait for them to come to me and say, "How do I lose weight?" And then
Right.
I'll tell you how. But it's like you have to wait. It's like AA. You have to
Mhm.
wait until someone says, "Okay, I have a problem." Like I have a
So
problem.
I'm hoping this is a big wake up call for him. But I was
Yeah.
super happy that I did what we talked about and decided just to go for the 2 days because
Yeah.
it was perfect. For me, it was perfect.
Because you
But
had that choice.
I had the choice,
Yeah.
which before I would think, oh God, I got to go all 4 days, 5 days,
Mhm.
and this time,
Yeah.
and he was okay with it. He was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
Yeah. Because you're like, I don't want to do that. What can I do?
Yes.
And it's like in relationships, a lot of time it's compromising. It's like, I don't want to do this, but I'm willing to do this. Like, okay, I'm willing to do this. And you're like, we have an accord. But yeah. And it's just these simple things of creating choices in a moment. It's like, I never broke it down before like this. Like, just take these everyday human behaviors and deconstruct it into little bits. Like seeing that whole stress cycle just pulled apart and seeing where the trigger is, where your body gets activated. There's a process. And once you see that process, you can try to grab. I call it my reaction. I say I can't grab it. It's almost, for me, it's almost like soap in the shower. It's
It's
like I
just
just
slipping.
react. Yeah. And I remember saying that in my last relationship. I was like, I don't know what happened. My reaction got away from me. Like I watched it get away from me. I knew I was reacting. I could watch it in slow motion. And I kept saying it's the hardest part about awareness of your patterns, awareness of how you act. Cause then it's like the awareness doesn't stop it.
No,
The awareness is
it just wakes you up to it.
yeah, and then you just slowly watch yourself do these things. You're like, oh, why am I doing this? So,
It's the same thing with food, don't you think? It's like making choices about food. It's like I could do the simple thing, go to McDonald's and get a burger.
Yeah.
or I could go to the grocery store and get some yogurt and an apple.
You're like, okay, what do I want? What's the thing I want the most at the fast food? And it's I want it easy. I want it simple.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how can I create that simplicity at home? And that's what I did is I just started going, okay, why do I want chicken nuggets? It's like, could I find an alternative at home that'll fit my,
Sure.
to fit my journey? Because it's like, because for me, it was like, oh, I can't do that. Well, what can I do? Well, how can I get that done? What can I do?
Mhm.
And it's that, and it was one of the things like my parents would say is that once I set my mind to something, there's no stopping me. But, and I'll be like, yeah, when I'm hyper focused on something. So, like, when people are asking me about my weight loss journey and they're like, did you do maintenance breaks? And I'm like, I powered through the whole thing. Like I just
Mhm.
kept going. And every time I would hit an obstacle, I'd go, okay, how could I get around it? For me, it was like but of course, this was where my mindset was off. But I felt like my entire life would be solved if I got thin. That was the big pressure I put on myself. And boy, when I got to the other side, it wasn't true.
Nope.
And that's when it just started going, oh, and that's why with the triangle, they call it the results triangle, but you have to have that balance with the mindset, with the movement, I mean, honestly, I lost most of my weight by just monitoring my food. Like right now, I'm going to start tracking, but I'm not going to be tracking in an app. I'm going to be writing it down on one of these post-its right here. And I'm just going to, because I just want to be aware of how much I'm taking in because I need to have the facts before I can make adjustments. And right now I'm assuming how much I'm bringing in, but right now I'm actually maintaining perfectly, but I had gained weight and I'm maintaining the weight gain. So that I could also have put on some weight from muscle because I've been lifting heavy.
Or inflammation.
Yeah, it could be anything, but I don't
Yeah.
know. So I have to be aware of everything. And that's also creating choices. Okay, I am actually having extra calories. But if I wasn't, then it was like then I need to move up my movement because it's that you need to just adjust the triangle. You either need to adjust your movement,
Mhm.
adjust your food, or you got to adjust your mindset. Because a lot of the time when you have obstacles over movement or food and you're letting friction get in the way, that's when you need to work on your mindset to say, okay,
Right.
something's getting in my head to stop me from getting my movement in or stop me from staying on my plan. What can I do? And it is just a constant adjustment of that triangle that for me, that's how I operate now. If I know
Yeah.
if I haven't moved a lot, I go, okay, well, I have to be conscious of what I'm eating. I can't eat like I do when I move like I
Mhm.
usually do. Like when I'm really busy at work, if I barely get 3,000 steps in, I'm not going to eat like I normally do on a day where I get 10,000 steps and a full workout in. I'm conscious of that. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I probably won't have that extra bagel where I'm just slicing off like, okay, 300 calorie bagel. It's easier to just say no to that than to try to work off 300 calories.
300 calories, right?
Yeah. So I just go, that's an easy choice. Because then I start viewing that bagel as a hour walk, a
Mhm.
2 hour walk. And I'm like, I don't want to do a 2 hour walk for that bagel. I don't want to have to walk 2 hours to burn it off. So I'm like, okay, then I will just, and it's just, you just make those choices. It's just a lot of little
Mhm.
choices every day. But a lot of it's specialized to you, to your body, to how you deal with things, any type of medications you're on, any type of ailments you have, any type of
Right.
anything, where you're starting, any type of injuries. For me, that's why I'm like, every single person on their weight loss journey is different.
They're all
Everybody's
different.
different. Everybody's special. I always thought everybody was special. That was a big argument that I had a lot with with my last employer was
Yeah.
that I viewed everybody as special and I thought everybody needed a special way of being coached, of being talked to. I really wanted to do something for the lone wolves, not just the people that are really big in the community, but there's people that we have no idea who they are. They joined the
Mhm.
guild and they've never spoken to us, but they're working hard on their journey. And so it's like I wanted I just wanted to be able to create a space where every type of person, and it's hard because I kind of lumped everybody into five patterns, but everybody's different. That's why there's 10 North Stars. That's why if you're going through one season of your life, your North Star is going to be different than if you're going through a different season. Like say that I meet somebody and I'm like goo goo in love, connection will probably be my, if I retake my North Star test, connection will be where I'm going. And it just
Right.
kind of gives you a direction to move in. So yeah, like especially like compassion. I had someone ask me about if that really meant compassion for other people. And I'm like, what it actually means is that you have so much compassion for other people that you don't actually give yourself the compassion you need. So
Mhm.
when you have compassion, you need to focus it inward than outward. And it's once you start really making decisions aligned with your North Star, with who you want to be, it starts to feel effortless because you're trusting yourself, trusting your body, trusting your decisions, trusting your choices.
Well, I have to tell you, it felt good this weekend making those choices. I mean, it was
Yeah.
small, but it for me, I felt
Really,
like this sense of relief. I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to think about it anymore.
that's the biggest indicator that you make a decision aligned with you is that you feel, even if it's a sad decision,
Hmm.
like say you're leaving a friendship that's very toxic, but you love them to death, but it's just they're constantly pulling from you, constantly taking. So you make a choice to distance yourself from that relationship. And it's sad. You grieve it, but you feel steady. You feel relieved. And you're like, oh, I don't have, as soon as you feel relieved, that's when that you're, because if you make a choice that gives you anxiety, that's, yeah, mom, Cindy, fucking Cindy. I made my mom a meme during 2020 instead of fucking Carol Baskins, it said fucking Cindy. Sorry, mom. In fact, I was thinking of my mom's, it was her like one of her best friends from teenagehood. And but it's like, but then you get this like it's like a nostalgia friendship where it's like you feel like because you put so much time. Ah, we've been friends for 40 years, and you feel like you got to stay in each other's lives. So you have this really long friendship in the books.
Yeah, because you feel like you've wasted all that time if you walk away. It's the same
Right.
in a relationship with a guy. You spend 6 years with a guy and he's a total ass, and you want to
Yeah.
walk away, but you can't because you're
You're like, well, I invested
involved.
all this.
I
But when
know.
you do walk away, you still grieve.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, you grieve everything. You grieve. But a lot of the time, if it is a toxic friendship, for me, I start grieving it before it ends because I start missing how it used to be, missing how we used to talk to each other, missing the feeling I don't feel calm around them anymore. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I can be authentic. It's like, but everybody changes. Everything changes. We change, they change, how our feelings about them change, and we're allowed to change our
Mhm.
opinions. And that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that a lot of us forget, where people are like, but you used to be this way, but you changed. Now you're this way. And you're like, I evolved.
Yeah.
It's like,
You, you just can't change how you feel about your mother.
No,
exactly.
never, ever.
If I say bad things about you to my mother, we're never getting back together. Isn't that right, mama?
Yeah, I love you.
I love you, mama.
It's my mom. She was my best friend, but she passed at 92, so she had a great life. But there are
Yeah.
times where I just want to talk to her and she's not
Oh
here.
no, but
Yeah.
that's how, for me, that's how it is. My mom
Yeah.
was my best friend. She was 95.
Mhm.
And there's moments when
Mhm.
my first thought is to call her and tell her or share this. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's really hard. That's the hardest one, I think. My dad and I had a great relationship, and I was a total daddy's girl because I'm the youngest of four.
Oh my
But
God, me too.
Yeah, so is my mom. That's fun.
my mom, it was really hard. That one went really hard. And it's been since 2013, so it's been a while, but it's still awful. Now, my husband lost his mother a year ago, and he's still struggling. And I think that's probably a lot of what he's dealing with right now. So I
Yeah.
have to give him a lot of space.
Yeah, a lot of grace because
Yeah.
it's the mortality thing, not just with the passing of his mother, but with him grieving, how his body used to work
Yep.
In an area that he loved to do, like an activity he loved. It's
Yep.
hard to go back into, I mean, this is really a poor example, but I get so sad when I try to roller skate because I could not remember at all. I just fall right on my booty. I don't know why. It's not like a bike, you guys.
No.
No.
But I mean, it's a poor comparison, but
Yeah.
it's
It's hard.
but it's one of those things where, like for me, because I haven't really been touched by death. Obviously, my mother's still alive. My father's still alive. So, it feels like a lot of my aunts and uncles are still alive, actually.
They are.
Except
Yeah.
for Robert. That was when I was 19 and he took his life. So it wasn't like an old age thing. So, yeah. So the only thing I could think that I could compare it to was when my dog died, my Daisy Lou. And she was in my life every day. I
Yep.
took care of her every day. But feeling that grief, and Christopher was so kind because he would allow me to compare it. He would actually even compare it to his dad's passing. And I know that your relationship with your father is different than your relationship with your dog. But
No, don't. I mean, it's still real grief.
and that's what he said. He was like, "You're still missing her. It doesn't change that you're not, that doesn't change." So he said that, and it kind of went along with the stress cycle with learning to, because your body gets engaged. You feel the grief. You hear a song, you remember something, you want to call them. And then
Yep.
you can feel it in your body. A lot of the time, it's a lump in your throat. Or for me, my heart would drop into my stomach.
Yeah.
And then you would start to feel it rise. And instantly, like for me, I would try to push it down. Because I'm like, I don't want to cry right now. Like, I don't want to get upset. But when you push it down, that's because the stress cycle is already fired up. And
Yeah.
you need to actually settle in your body. That's why, like, a lot of the time when someone says, "Oh, yeah, I had a great cry," like, I feel so much better after it. Because you're with like the EMDR therapy I'm doing, that's another thing. What you're doing is you're basically allowing yourself to process that emotion. And for me, it was through crying. And if you have the time, if you're feeling grief, if you have the time, you have the moment, let yourself cry it out. It feels so much better because you're like, it's just what you want to do. It's what you're feeling. You're feeling sad. And you could even feel it in your face. Your face is like, all the nerves start getting ready for the tears and you just keep pushing it down. But that helps. If you're unable to just cry, for me, which felt really weird, I would put on something that makes me laugh so hard. And it would feel so weird to be laughing when I want to cry.
Right.
But the laughing, like I would put on I put on Key and Peele sketches. They always make me laugh. So I would put on something that I know will make me laugh. And I will just, even if I'm by myself, I'm like, you're allowed to laugh right now. It's okay to laugh. And just laughing shows your body that you're safe. It releases that emotion even through laughter. So that would help. I mean, because obviously when you're feeling grief, that emotion's so big. Like digging your toes
Yeah.
into the carpet doesn't really do too much. It's like you have to for me, I had to release that pressure valve. And
Yeah.
for me, that was
It,
either
it
through,
it took me months to have that big cry after my mom passed because there was
Mhm.
so much going on and I know that I buried it. I just kept pushing it down. And then I was sitting with my cousin and we were talking and sharing memories and it just flooded and it hurt, but afterwards it felt so good to have that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
That-
I agree.
for me, I think crying's a great choice. I think because really, because
Chris and I share that.
yes, I'm a bit of a crier. I
That's
was
okay.
described as a crybaby as a child. I did cry through kindergarten, first and second grade every morning when my mom would drop me off.
That was hard for
I
mom.
I cry sometimes when I'm really angry.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
When I get
Gosh.
really, really angry, the tears just start flowing because all the emotion starts coming up. And I keep
Yeah.
thinking, where is all of this coming from? Is it from something else that I suppressed? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny because I'll ask myself the same thing. Where is this coming from? And it's just there.
It's coming from somewhere and it needs to be pushed through.
Yep.
That's how I look at it. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I just need to let this push through. And it almost, for me, I almost think of it like flushing my system. The tears.
It flushes my nose, that's for sure.
And grief is something I'm still new to because I know how to deal with it, like when it hits you. But overall, because there's times where I just kept crying and it was like, I'm so tired of crying. And that's when reaching out to someone like a therapist or a counselor is so ideal because they have all the tools and resources to understand why letting go of this grief is so difficult because there's something there that a lot of the time we can't solve by ourselves. So that's why I encourage people to go to therapy because a lot of the time we're going through these emotions, dealing with our patterns, but a lot of the time these emotions and patterns came from very, very traumatic places in our childhood, very traumatic things that happened to us as adults. And sometimes it's too big for us to deal with on our own. And so for me, with grief, if it's just too overpowering, it's getting help. It's just like if you have a really bad toothache and it's getting in the way of your life, you go to the dentist. Or you have a really bad sprained ankle and you are unable to walk around properly, you go to the doctor, you get it treated. So for me, if I'm having really big emotions that I have a hard time dealing with and it's affecting how I'm moving through my life, that's when I go to the head doctor. So,
Yeah, don't make the choice of going and eating cake.
yeah, because all those things are so easy to just numb out because all those things release serotonin for us. Obviously, drugs release a chemical form of serotonin, that feel good hormone, and food, your body wants you to eat food because you need to eat food to survive. So it releases hormones that make you want it when you need it.
I
But
was really impressed with Kay when she said, was it her husband who brought her a chocolate bar or got her a
yes,
chocolate bar because they thought it would make her feel better? And she
yeah.
was like, I don't want a chocolate bar, I want a hug.
Aw.
Exactly. Like connection is a great way. Like even just a hug from somebody, like a big hug. That's why I give people like these big monster hugs when I see them. I call them soul crushing hugs. But I think Samantha's encountered one. But where I just go and I just hug because I want them to feel held and supported physically
Yeah.
from me. And
Yeah.
but it almost, for me, I almost feel that it disarms them because they feel safe instantly. And for me, when I get a big bear hug from someone when I'm stressed, like from my dad, of course, my dad could just look at me and be like, "What's wrong?" And I'd be like, "Ah." But yeah, just feeling that hug. One of the things my therapist told me is because I told her how much I love hugs, she said, if there's nobody around, I could hug myself in a corner, like the corner of a room. You just
Aw.
go into the corner and you could just hug yourself real tight and you can feel pressure all around you. Or I just make Sunny Bunny come and lay with me. She just lays on top of me. Weighted blankets, those help people a lot because it makes their body physically feel safe. So, yeah.
Never underestimate the power of touch. Touch.
Yeah, and sometimes it becomes maladaptive when you look for physical connection with just anybody, just so you can feel something. Like people use that like from one relationship to the next because they're afraid of being alone. So in any way you can have the maladaptive and the adaptive, the way that's not moving you towards your goal and the way that is moving towards your goal. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, we are over by 15 minutes. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming.